I like that. Continuing with how the hell are they in that seed? The fourth seed in the Eastern Conference is the New York Knicks. I'll say that again because I don't think we've said that since 2012, 2013. The fourth seed in the Eastern Conference is the New York Knicks. The Mecca is back. Actually tied for fifth in the East. I'm sorry, with Indiana. They're ahead of Boston, Chicago, and Miami right now. And, the guy who's making all the headlines is Julius Randle, their all-star, career highs in minutes played, field goals made, field goals attempts, 3 points made, 3-point attempts, percentage, free throw percentage, shoes tied, you know,
High
sidewalks
five.
crossed, every high five, everything. Like corn dogs eaten. I mean, this dude is having career highs in everything, and the Knicks are blossoming because of it. Shout out Tibbs, shout out D Rose, shout out Leon Rose, shout out everybody in the Knicks organization right now because I think basketball is like at its best when the New York Knicks are playing good basketball in the Garden. I love
Yeah, it's been a sight to see, and big props to Tom Thibodeau coming in there, not only turning around the team and how they play, but the culture.
it. Mm-hmm.
These guys are bought in. You see guys like Mitchell Robinson was, I felt like, very disconnected at times, and he can still be that way. But before his injury, he looked good on the defensive end. The Kentucky product, Emmanuel Quickly, has been amazing for them, stepping in. And last night, or maybe it was 2 nights ago, Alec Burks put in like 24 points, 25 points, and that's something he used to do that on the Jazz way back in the day, Gordon
Way
Hayward
back,
days.
way back.
Yeah.
So look, this might I don't again another team. I don't think that a ring is in their future, but I am interested to see where New York goes this year.
I mean, taking advantage of like a
Yeah.
topsy turvy NBA, right? The teams that you thought were going to be good, the Boston's, the Miami's, of the world are down. And so the Knicks picked a good time to try to, start to figure it out and start to put good basketball together. In a normal year, they might be seventh, eighth seed. But in this year, taking advantage of down teams, put yourself right in the mix. And teams are running out of time to catch up to you. You're fourth now. Even if you slide a little bit, you might maintain a playoff spot. That's huge for them.
Yeah. And it's funny that you bring up Alec Burks, Jake, because that's exactly where I was going to go. Because if you followed, like, I don't know why you were following the Knicks the first season or the first 2 weeks of the season, but I was playing daily fantasy, and Alex Burks is
Mhm.
legit. He got injured after that. He was gone for about 12 games, but Alex Burks was like their second leading scorer, like inch and inch with Julius Randle through 14 games of the season. Then he
Mhm.
got hurt. I mean, he's a serious factor that can come back. Austin Rivers has had some big games. He's been hurt. I fear that they don't have an identity. I know Julius Randle is now an all-star, but RJ Barrett's too inconsistent, and they have enough guys to where, hey, one can step up any given night. But I fear for this team in a 7-game
Mhm.
series, just because they don't have this team identity. They don't know who's going to be the man that night besides Randle, because Julius Randle's great. He's not going to win you the game alone. So I fear a little bit about that, but looking at their roster, there's a lot of names that could do it. And if they start to find an identity, say in the next 2 months before the playoffs, I'm not saying they're going to make a playoff run, but they could give some teams some trouble for real. And we have not been able to say that about the New York Knicks
I
in a
just think
long
they're
time.
just hooping. I think it aids to your
Yeah.
point of not really an identity, but I think Tibbs to start the season was like, we don't have much expectations, or even the players thought we don't have much expectations. Let's just go out there and hoop. Like, what do we have to lose by just going out and hooping? And they're winning games because of it. Something that could be their identity is maybe on the defensive end, though. Defense is calling kind of their calling card right now. Third in defensive rating. Opponents have the worst field goal percentage and 3-point percentage in the league when playing the Knicks. So they are locking down on defense. And you make it easier for yourself on offense, especially with a team with a bunch of young guys. You make it easier for yourself on offense when you're locking down on defense, what the Knicks are doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and again, I don't, keep going back to Thibodeau, but you look at those Bulls teams, you look at the Timberwolves teams that he coached. Always on the defensive end, they are always competent. He really has proven that defense is almost solely effort based.
Yeah.
If you want to get better at defending, you can do it. It doesn't really matter who you are as long as you have that level of effort, which the Knicks clearly do have this year. One last thing before we move on. Today we had on Ian Begley, who is an SNY Knicks and Nets reporter, really good at what he does. Ian mentioned that maybe not this trade deadline, but during the offseason, look out for Zach LaVine as someone who the Knicks try and potentially go after. Apparently, that's someone that Leon Rose and company covets. Who knows if it'll happen? Just want to throw it out there. That would give them a very, very
Firepower.
high
That would
end
give them
piece on the offensive
firepower.
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
What are the Bulls?
I
Are
mean,
the Bulls in position? I mean, what are the Bulls? Fifth, sixth in the East? Like, are they all of a sudden
they're
seventh? Are
seventh
they
right now.
buyers
Yeah.
now? But a team that thought they were going to be down and out there in a playoff picture, are they buyers now at the deadline?
It doesn't make sense.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not sure. One thing about that though, Jake, because I could definitely see it, is people want to play in New
Yeah,
York,
yeah.
and people were really considering, KD, Kyrie going to New York, right? And Zion, different situation, but they got all hyped for Zion to go to New York, and I'm pretty sure Zion would have wanted to play in New York. So I mean, all of a sudden you have a team that now made the playoffs, now has a lot of young players that can showing promise. They could be a big destination for not only trades but free agents
Do,
coming up. I wouldn't be surprised
do
to see that
people
either.
still look at New York City and think that's Madison Square Garden? That's the mecca of basketball. It's the world's most famous arena. I as a basketball
think they
savant,
do.
I absolutely do. I go to the Big East
I
Championship
think they
every
do.
year, and like I walk in that joint, you just feel 60, 70 years of basketball greatness between college and professional. But that happens when the Knicks are really good, when Spike Lee's on the sideline going crazy. Like, does it have that same appeal? If I'm a free agent, do I still are the Knicks still attractive because that's going and playing at the mecca of basketball? That's go where the world's most famous arena. You think
I
so?
think 100%.
I hope.
100%.
I hope.
Hallowed grounds, for
I hope,
sure.
I hope people aren't losing that. Because remember back in the day, it used to be like it used to be a notable thing when someone was playing either their first game at the Garden or when a star was going to the Garden. It used to have like the Garden games, like Jordan's 58-point output. His first game back at the Garden is historic. LeBron had his career high at one point in the Garden of 60, I'm pretty sure. Like, those used to be notable games, whether the Knicks were good or not. Like, me performing in the Garden used to be a big deal, or a player performing in the Garden used to be a big deal. I just want that to stay. I just hope that doesn't go anywhere.
I think it
Yeah.
will. I have a question too. Is Linsanity as big as it was if it wasn't in the Garden?
No,
If it wasn't
that's
in
the
New York?
benefit of being in New York. No, if he does that
And
in
that's
Charlotte,
basketball
if he does that in
history.
Charlotte, like, it doesn't go in
Mhm.
basketball history. Like, you know what? Like, you're right. Like, you did that where greats did that.
Right. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to Jeremy Lin, but like, people do that shit all the time. Like, he had a good run. He had a
He
good
had like
time.
26.
All the
Like,
time. All
yeah,
the time.
it's funny.
Terry
Like,
Rozier pulls that shit off every other night,
every
doing
other
some
night.
shit
You know what I
like
mean?
that.
He does.
Like,
4 games straight
yeah,
last
like
week.
I think that's a good point, Jake. If he does that for a down and out Hornets team, no one cares. He did that for a down and out Knicks team, and it's front page news. It was beautiful.